And welcome back to Hannity. And tonight we're coming to you from Indianapolis, Indiana. Senator Ted Cruz and his running mate, Fiorina, are with us for the hour. I want to welcome to the audience, we've got about 60 kids from Morris Hill High School. Morris Hills? All right, from high school that actually cut school today. With the permission of their teacher, which never happened to me in my entire life. Congratulations. We welcome you young people to the event tonight. So we continue. All right. You know, there are a couple, I pointed out, Senator, usually before these events, I come out and say hi to the crowd, as I always do. And I saw a number of really cute young people, including little Annabelle over there. And I said this election is about them. Yeah. We now have 1 in 4 American families that don't have a single person in the labor force. 95 million Americans out of the labor force, 50 million in poverty, 46 million on food stamps, and Obama will accumulate more debt than every other president before him combined. I look at those numbers, and to me, it seems almost unfixable.
Well, there's no doubt that the Obama-Clinton economy, it's a train wreck. It is a disaster, and millions of people are hurting. And the single most important issue in this election is how we turn that around. I can tell you my top priority as president will be bringing back jobs and economic growth, bringing jobs back to America, bringing manufacturing jobs back to Indiana, raising wages for working men and women, expanding opportunity for young people. And you know, this election provides a clear contrast. One of the reasons why I named Carly early, right now, is to provide a clear choice for the voters of Indiana, a clear choice between a campaign that is based on yelling and screaming and cursing and insults versus a positive, optimistic, forward-looking conservative campaign based on real policy solutions. It's one thing to yell about jobs. It's another thing to know how you bring them back. And, you know, it was one of the things Ronald Reagan understood, and actually before him, John F. Kennedy understood, that the key to jobs is you cut taxes, you lift regulations on small businesses, and you see millions of new jobs. We've seen that here in Indiana with Governor Mitch Daniels, with Governor Mike Pence, but we need to bring Indiana values to the country.
You know, and obviously you're pleased with Governor Pence today, and a lot has happened today for you in your campaign. But the reality is conservative governors, and I can mention Scott Walker and John Kasich and Rick Perry and Bobby Jindal and Rick Scott of Florida, they have done a great job. They've taken high deficits, turned it into surpluses, high unemployment rates. They brought hundreds of thousands of jobs to their states. But Washington Republicans, Carly, have failed. They have not been able to duplicate that. Why is there this fear, this unnatural, it seems, you know, unpredictable fear or almost pathological that they're going to get blamed for a government shutdown if they stand on principle?
It's called lack of courage and leadership. That's what it's called. That's what it's called. Look, you know, one of the things that I did before I voted for Ted Cruz, and I voted for him before I ever had a conversation with him about endorsing. Oh. Yes, I was still on the ballot when I voted for Ted Cruz. That's a thrill. One of the things I did before I voted for him, before I endorsed him, before I, with great humility and pride, accepted his invitation to serve as his running mate, is I went through and read all his policies. And you know, it's not rocket science why jobs leave. And it's not rocket science why they come back. We know what works. We know what works. You have to lower taxes. You have to compete hard for every job. You have to lift Obamacare and the EPA and this just crushing weight of regulation off the backs, in particular, of small businesses, because it is small businesses that create 2/3 of the new jobs in this country. But to do all those things that obviously work, we've seen it over and over again, to your point. To do those things that obviously work, guess what? You have to be willing to challenge the system that has been in place for so long, that says, no, 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 we're just going to keep raising taxes, keep rolling back regulation. You know what? Ask yourselves a question. Why is the Constitution so important? Because the Constitution tells us what is going to work in this country. Let me just pick one example, is regulations. We are no longer a nation of laws. We are a nation of rules. And ask yourself, who are the rule makers? unaccountable, unelected bureaucrats, nameless, faceless bureaucrats. And that machinery has been in place in Washington, D.C. for 30-plus years, and Republicans and Democrats have not stopped it. This is a guy with the courage and the policies and the platforms and the leadership to stand in the breach and say, enough, we're rolling it back.
Let me turn to the process questions. And I'd rather speak more on substance, but these are important questions. The task you have in front of you to win the nomination is daunting. I'm sure you both read the numbers. The current delegate count is Donald Trump, 996. You're in second place, 566. He won 27 contests. You won 11 contests. Marco Rubio's won 3. John Kasich has won 1. So really it has been a two-person race for a long time. That is a big gap to bridge, a big gap for you to bridge delegate-wise. How important is Indiana? Is it a must-win state for you now?
Listen, Indiana is critically important. We have seen Donald has had a good week. He won his home state, and he won the adjoining states, and the media has treated that with hosannas of great astonishment. Now, of course, the preceding 3 weeks, we had won 5 states in a row. We had won starting with Utah, then North Dakota, then Wisconsin, then Colorado and Wyoming. You know, in those 5 states, 1.3 million people voted in those 5 states, and we won landslide after landslide after landslide. So, listen, it's fine that Donald did well in the Northeast, in the Acela corridor, where he did well there, but we're back in the heartland. And, you know, one of the real differences, both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton view Indiana as flyover territory. This is not a place they would ever go. In their view, America is New York City and Washington, D.C., and it is the elites and the rich and the powerful. I think the values of Indiana are the values of America, and it gives me great comfort that this primary is going to be decided by the Midwestern common sense of the Hoosier state. And I don't think they're interested in some bully who yells and screams and doesn't have any real policy solutions. And
let me do a follow-up.
Yeah.
For Donald Trump to get to 1237,
yeah.
for you now to get the nomination, you're going to need a second ballot in a contested convention. You both know that. You understand the rules.
Sure.
You're fighting hard. This is the process. Everybody knew the process going in. 243 is Donald Trump's number to get to 1237. So my question is, and I think a lot of people don't understand it. Do you all understand how this works? Yeah. All right, but there probably is some people here that don't. But for those that don't, explain what the rules are, how the process goes, so people that don't know understand.
And let me note one thing, that the numbers that are being reported by some of the media outlets are...
This is the AP, I'm sorry.
Okay, and yeah. The AP's numbers are bogus. Yeah. Because what they've done is they've given all of the unbound delegates to Pennsylvania to Donald Trump. Those delegates are not his. That's just reporters who want to run up his total. If you actually look at the bound delegates, Donald has about 50 fewer than what you...
But they're unbound on your side, too.
They're unbound, so the media doesn't get to assume that every unbound delegate is naturally...
I'm not here to argue,
but here's the simple reality. I believe nobody is going to get to 1237. Donald Trump is not going to get to 1237. Nobody is. Before Cleveland. So what's going to happen is simple. We're going to go into Cleveland. I'm going to have a ton of delegates. Donald Trump is going to have a ton of delegates. And then Cleveland, we're going to have a contested convention. And the battle is to see who can earn the support of a majority of the delegates elected by the people. And the reason that Donald is so desperately trying to get his media acolytes to say, this is over, this is over, this is over, is because Donald cannot earn the support of a majority. He wants to change the rules so you don't need a majority. Listen, if you can't get a support of the majority of delegates, you can't unite this party, and you can't win in November.
Let me follow up on that question. This is really important.
Can I use a really simple analogy? Let me just use a really simple analogy, because last night was the NFL draft pick, right? And the Indianapolis Colts did pretty well. And here, you know, in football, the 30-yard line ain't a touchdown. 20-yard line ain't a touchdown. The 5-yard line ain't a touchdown. 1,237 delegates is what it takes to get a touchdown. And this guy's going to get it.
You know, I was thinking about this coming in, because I remember early on in the process, you, for example, and Donald Trump, you guys got along. If you go to social media today, it is Cruz people hate Trump people hate Cruz people. And well,
there you go.
I'm saying you got to read social media. I'm reading it every day. But here's my point. Carly Fiorina was kind of tough on Ted Cruz, and you guys are here united today. So the bigger, broader question is, there's going to be one nominee. It's either going to be you or it's going to be Donald Trump. I believe if the party is divided, it cannot win and defeat Hillary Clinton. Do you think, for example, you were pretty tough on him. You were pretty tough on everybody, Carly. Do you think at the end of the day, in spite of differences and a hard-run campaign on all sides, that the Republican Party unites on this mission, never Hillary, and how does that happen?
It'll happen if
Absolutely.
he's our nominee. It'll
does that
happen if he's our nominee.
And that's an important distinction. Listen, Sean, you are absolutely right. We have got to unify the party. If we don't unify the party, we lose. And, you know, you mentioned animosity. Listen, I love the Trump supporters. Many of the Trump supporters have supported me at some point. They are wonderful people who are scared for the direction of this country, who are upset at the corruption of Washington, who are upset at illegal immigration and the lies coming from Washington of people saying that they're going to stop it, and they're upset at seeing jobs going overseas over and over and over again. They're fed up, and I love the Trump supporters. I am working hard to earn the support of every one of them. And I also think the Trump supporters, they're being lied to right now. Donald Trump is playing a confidence game. It's like three-card monte. He is pretending. Listen, this is John Boehner's golfing and texting buddy. This is someone who contributed 7 times to Hillary Clinton, including twice to her presidential campaign. Now, can you imagine, Sean, ever being so fevered that you wake up one morning and say, I need to write a check to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign? Donald Trump has done that twice. And listen, one of the keys of uniting the party, listen, Donald is relentlessly personal and nasty and negative, and all he knows how to do is curse and insult. I don't respond in kind. You haven't heard me insulting him personally. I'll talk about policy differences. He thinks Planned Parenthood is wonderful. He agrees with Hillary Clinton on that. I intend to instruct the Department of Justice to open an investigation into Planned Parenthood. Now that's a policy difference, but it's not personal.